They arrested him, called him a thief, and humiliated him for a crime he didn't commit. But in court, he revealed the truth. The man they tried to destroy was their new boss. What happened next exposed the darkest side of the system. Let's start from the beginning. The city was alive with the hum of activity on a sunny afternoon. Trevor Daniels, a tall, sharply dressed black man in his early 40s, stepped out of an upscale boutique, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. A small shopping bag dangled from his hand, subtle, yet unmistakably high-end. His tailored suit and air of quiet confidence turned heads, drawing both admiration and unspoken assumptions. Walking with measured grace, Trevor made his way to a sleek black Mercedes parked perfectly along the curb. Its glossy surface gleamed in the sunlight, reflecting the city's hustle and bustle. His demeanor was calm, almost meditative, but Trevor was no stranger to the lingering stares that followed him, curiosity tinged with skepticism. A few yards away, Detectives Gray and Mitchell patrolled the area. Gray, middle-aged with a permanent scowl, nudged his partner, a younger but equally jaded Mitchell. Their reputation for racial profiling and overreach preceded them. They watched Trevor with narrowed eyes, their conversation dripping with prejudice. "Looks out of place, doesn't he?" Gray muttered, his gaze fixed on Trevor's car. Mitchell snorted. "A guy like that? In a car like this? Yeah, something's off." Their suspicion, unfounded but resolute, propelled them forward. As Trevor unlocked his car, the officers intercepted him. "Excuse me, sir. Step away from the car," Gray barked, his tone laced with authority. Trevor, confused but composed, turned to face them. "Is there a problem, officers?" Mitchell snatched the keys from Trevor's hand. "You fit the description of a suspect in a car theft." Trevor's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "This is my car. The registration and insurance are in the glove box." The officers exchanged smirks. "Right," Gray said coldly. "Hands on the car." Despite his calm protests, Trevor was forced against the vehicle, his wrists roughly cuffed. A crowd gathered, murmurs of disbelief rippling through the air. A bystander recorded the scene, their phone capturing Trevor's restrained dignity. "You're making a mistake," Trevor said firmly. Gray's sneer was cold. "We'll see about that." At the precinct, Trevor Daniels is ushered in, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the unnecessary force used by Detectives Gray and Mitchell. They push and shove him roughly, their actions loud in their contempt. Trevor doesn't resist, his composure unbroken, though the indignity of the situation is clear. Officers milling around the station glance up, but say nothing, their silence heavy with complicity. It's an unspoken rule. Don't question Gray and Mitchell. Their behavior, unchecked for years, has become part of the precinct's toxic norm. Trevor is taken to a stark, windowless interrogation room. The fluorescent lights buzz faintly, casting an unforgiving glare on the table and chairs. Sitting straight-backed, his hands cuffed in front of him, Trevor meets Gray's smug expression with steady eyes. "I'd like to make a phone call," Trevor says, his tone polite but firm. Gray leans back against the wall, crossing his arms. A smirk spreads across his face. "You don't get to make demands here." Meanwhile, the video of Trevor's arrest begins circulating on social media, filmed by a bystander at the scene. It spreads like wildfire, sparking immediate outrage. Comments flood in. "Not again." "Look how calm he is. Something doesn't add up." "Why do they always assume the worst?" Hashtags calling for accountability trend within hours, with people demanding justice for yet another seemingly unjustified arrest. In the precinct, Detective Johnson, a younger officer scrolling through his phone during a break, stumbles upon the video. His heart sinks as he recognizes Trevor. Panic sets in. Quickly, he strides toward the interrogation room, only to be intercepted by Gray. "What's your problem, rookie?" Gray snaps, glaring at him. Johnson hesitates, but forces the words out. "That's Trevor Daniels. He's important." Gray's brow furrows, irritation flashing across his face. "Important? He's a car thief," Mitchell interjects, smirking. Johnson sighs, realizing he has to spell it out. "No, he's the new deputy chief of police." The weight of the revelation silences the room, but for Gray and Mitchell, disbelief quickly turns into a cold, sinking dread. The next morning, Trevor Daniels walks into the courthouse, flanked by two officers who seem more nervous than authoritative. Despite the humiliation of the previous day, his posture is straight, his expression calm, and his sharp suit commands respect. The arrest has become a media storm, and the courtroom is packed with reporters, community activists, and curious onlookers. Cameras flash as Trevor enters, but he remains poised, ignoring the murmur of speculation rippling through the crowd. At the defendant's table, Trevor's lawyer is ready, his confidence bolstered by the overwhelming evidence of Trevor's innocence. On the other side of the room, Gray and Mitchell sit with their lawyer, their usual smugness firmly in place. Gray leans back in his chair, whispering to Mitchell, "This is just a formality. He'll fold like the rest." The proceedings begin, and Trevor's lawyer wastes no time presenting the evidence. The car's registration, insurance, and purchase history, all bearing Trevor's name. The documents are irrefutable. Trevor's composure never wavers as his lawyer dissects the case against him. Then, the moment everyone has been waiting for arrives. Trevor takes the stand. He adjusts the microphone, his calm gaze sweeping the courtroom before landing squarely on Gray and Mitchell. "My name is Trevor Daniels," he begins, his voice steady but powerful. "And as of last month, I was appointed deputy chief of this city's police department." Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Gray's confident smirk vanishes, replaced by disbelief. Mitchell's jaw tightens as the gravity of their actions begins to sink in. The gallery erupts into whispers, the revelation electrifying the room. Trevor continues, his tone measured but firm. "The actions of Detectives Gray and Mitchell are not isolated incidents. They reflect a systemic issue within our force, a culture of prejudice and profiling that cannot and will not stand." The judge, visibly stunned, declares Trevor innocent, his voice tinged with disappointment as he chastises Gray and Mitchell for their blatant misconduct. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm Trevor for comments. Standing tall, he simply states, "This isn't just about me. It's about accountability, something we must demand from everyone, especially those in power." His words echo across headlines, a rallying cry for change. The fallout is immediate and far-reaching. Detectives Gray and Mitchell are placed on indefinite suspension, their badges and guns confiscated as an internal investigation begins. Their past cases are scrutinized under a microscope, and whispers of misconduct and systemic abuse of power grow louder. A task force is quickly established to tackle racial bias within the department, and Trevor Daniels, the newly minted deputy chief, is appointed to lead it. Social media becomes a wildfire of support for Trevor, with hashtags like #JusticeForTrevor and #PoliceReform, now trending nationwide. The video of his arrest, juxtaposed with his dignified court testimony, serves as a rallying cry for change. Influential voices amplify his story, calling attention to the systemic failures it represents. Standing before a sea of cameras at a press conference, Trevor addresses the public. His voice carries the weight of his experience, but also the hope of his vision. "What happened to me was humiliating," he says, pausing to let the words sink in. "But it's nothing compared to what countless others endure daily. This isn't about one person's story. It's about a broken system. Change starts now." At a packed community meeting later that week, Trevor listens intently as residents share their stories of harassment, profiling, and fear. Each account adds to his resolve, fueling his commitment to rebuild the trust shattered by decades of negligence and prejudice. He assures the crowd, "We have a long road ahead, but I promise you, we will walk it together." For Gray and Mitchell, the consequences are sobering. Their arrogance gives way to quiet desperation as they face mounting legal challenges, public condemnation, and the reality of losing their careers. Stripped of their authority, they must reckon with the pain and damage they've caused. For Trevor, the experience, though harrowing, ignites a renewed sense of purpose. Turning personal humiliation into a platform for reform, he spearheads changes aimed at dismantling systemic racism within the force. Through his integrity and resilience, Trevor proves that courage and accountability can triumph over ignorance and hate, inspiring a community and a nation to demand better.